you're going to be on the Hill today. Tell us a little bit about what you're going to be talking about with lawmakers or staff on the Hill.
Well, we're going to explain to them what's happening at the OECD, and as you said, the US is one of the prominent countries, members of the OECD, and what we're trying to do is to make sure that companies pay their fair share of tax, and that the international tax rules that we're in charge of developing and updating are fit for purpose, and don't allow companies to pay taxes nowhere. And today we have what we call double non-taxation. That's why we've launched a big project that we call base erosion and profit shifting. How can we fight this avoidance? Because it's avoidance, it's legal, but the result is that companies pay taxes nowhere on the international profit, and we're trying to change that to make sure that they pay the taxes in one place, only in one place, but in one place. And to achieve this, we need to change the international tax rules, transfer pricing, tax treaties, and some other aspects of the international tax framework.
Just to clarify this, so this project is actually non-binding. Once you come up with specific proposal suggestions, it's going to be up to the United States to basically enact these sorts of things. And right now on the Hill, if you went up to your average lawmaker and asked them about this project, most of them would have no idea what it is. So number one, why should they be paying attention to this, what you're doing thousands of miles away across the pond? And number two, do you think that this could actually move here in the United States? How positive, how optimistic are you that the Congress would say, enact something like this or ratify these sorts of proposals?
Well, to start with, the international tax rules we're talking about are transfer pricing or tax treaties, which are quite technical but significant for cross-border investors like the US multinationals. It's very important that countries have a common understanding of some terms, of the way to act in this area. So it's very important that the US is part of the discussion, even though it may not require any legislation action for the time being. So the first part of it is that having consensus with China, with Brazil, with the European in terms of defining some tax elements is quite important. And then it will allow to put the US tax policy reform into that context. The Congress will decide whatever it decides, but it's very important that they don't put their companies at a competitive disadvantage by taxing them, and we're ensuring that leveling the playing field while also making sure that the companies will pay taxes once and not twice, but once for sure. So what I'm going to say to the staffers we're going to meet today in the Hill, but as well as at a conference that we organized today with USCIB, is where do we stand on this project and what it means for the US and for the rest of the world.
Now, lawmakers at the same time are going to be hearing from American corporations, big guys. We just saw a story out by Reuters over the weekend saying that Pfizer, Starbucks, they're already gearing up to start talking to them about it. And are you potentially concerned that these sorts of big companies who like, the international tax system as it is now, could potentially, unravel any sort of progress you might have here in the United States by telling Congress to, knock something like this down? You mentioned that maybe Congress doesn't have to do anything. Could maybe this all go through the Obama administration alone or something like that?
Well, first I would say that there is tremendous political support here in the US and outside of the US for this project. And the real risk for American companies is that we do nothing. And they will understand that, because if we do nothing, countries like China, India, the Europeans will take unilateral measures which will unravel the political and the international consensus. And that's a much worse environment than having consensus, which makes sure that you do not have double taxation. So the companies may be concerned in the short term because actually the changes might increase their effective tax rate, which is very low for their international investments. But in the long term, it is favorable to them. So that's the trade-off between being very short-termist or having a longer term view on all these. We're not here to say what the US should do. I mean, we're the OECD, we're just an honest broker to make sure that we don't have chaos in this environment and that the companies can invest cross-border in a safe environment while they would pay taxes once, not twice, but at least once. Currently, you have what we call the cash box in Bermuda. It's a very easy scheme. You put all your profit in Bermuda. There is no tax. This is coming to an end. Now, the question is, do we want to organize how it comes to an end? Or shall we let all the countries act unilaterally without coordinating or without looking at what the others are doing? The BEPS project, Fighting Base Erosion and Profit Shifting, is about coordinating or making sure that unilateral actions will not be bad for investors, but will make sure that they pay their taxes at least once and no more than once.